project. So thank you so much for coming. Let's
Awesome.
give a hand to Antoine.
Cool. All right. First of all, thanks for having me, Sheila. So pretty much like she said, started with $40,000. Me and my family went through Fortune Builders. We wanted to flip houses in LA. Realized that with 40 grand, we weren't going to make anything because we'd have to raise all the gap funds and we'd be left with, $20,000. So we, make a good return on our little money we had, but it wasn't enough to quit our job. My dad quit his job. So what I ended up doing was my last 2 years at university, I just moved all my classes to the night from like 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Throughout the whole day, I was researching markets out of state, trying to build the team, raise money, and then just learn as much as I possibly could because I knew out of state was the way to go with 40 grand. There was no other way to do it. So started researching markets like Memphis, which is what this presentation is about, and started just buying properties in Memphis, Tennessee with that 40 grand. So what I would do is I would buy a house for 30 grand, renovate it for 10 grand, then it's worth 60 grand after. I do a refinance, pull all the money out, and then I had a free house and my money back, and I just kept doing that over and over and over. Until I had a portfolio of about 10 single family homes, and then friends and family started reaching out to us because we had 10 single family homes in out of state, and they're like, what the hell are you doing in Memphis? And people started reaching out to us and we're like, hey, we can help you get started. We'll just sell you one of our properties before we refinance it. So that's how Martel Turnkey is like my main business. And that's what we do today. So we do over 100 homes a year. So 8 to 10 properties every single month. Buy it, rehab it, rent it out, and then resell it just for cash flow. So that's Angelica works for us there. She does all the sales and transaction coordinator for all those transactions. So my dad recently quit his job to come on full time. My brother joined. She's with us. So it's a tight-knit group of 4 of us. But we do a lot of transactions, a lot of volume with that business. And it helped us build teams on the ground. So we do have a huge team in Memphis, Cleveland, Birmingham, St. Louis, where we're doing all these deals. So it helps me when I do get a deal hit my desk like this, that I can have somebody there in 30 minutes taking photos, sending me info. And they grew up there, they know the area. So it helps me as the outsider, knowing nothing about Memphis, but having a team that does know about it, really give me that knowledge and insight that I do need. So with that being said, the last 4 years we've really been doing the turnkey thing. We really got into multifamily just because of the scale of it, and then now we have the capital to deploy into the larger buildings. These buildings this is an 11-unit building that I'll talk to you about today. We bought it 4 months ago. Yep, 4 months ago, and then 3 or 4 months ago, we just finished the full renovation of the exterior, and now we're just slowly renovating the units. So I'll talk to you today about what went on. This was our second apartment building. The first apartment building was a 20-unit building, and then this is the second one. So this is the first time I actually presented this. Most people have seen the other 20-unit apartment building. So, I don't know. So this is a case study, introduction, disclaimer. So this is it, the property, Powell Place Apartments in Memphis, Tennessee. Wow, the colors are weird. All right, so this is some property information. So that's the address. It's an 11-unit building built in 1972. The average rents when we bought it were $500 a month. Occupancy was 100%. Purchase price was $450. The down payment was $110, just 25%, and then the renovation costs were $221. That includes full exterior plus every single unit, about $10,000 per unit in renovation. So just for an 11-unit building, we bought it for $450, but for total cash in the deal is $331. So it's much more difficult to get into one of these deals than to get into a single-family home where it costs 40 grand, right? So it took us a while to build up to this point. And there was a couple of things that we saw with the building that we thought that we could help increase the value of that property. So you increase value by decreasing expenses or increasing NOI or net operating income. So increasing the rents from 500 to whatever number, or reducing expenses. If people are paying for utilities, you cut that out and just charge back the tenants. So for this property, number one thing was to increase rent. So when we bought it, we knew that the market rents were $725. The current rents were $500 a month. We knew we could create a community because we had done it in the last building. We do that by really building a fence and then taking care of the exterior, making the exterior really pretty, and then making sure that we have like somebody going and cleaning the property every single week, taking care of the trash, getting rid of debris, just making it clean. And then building a fence around the property, removing any bars on the doors or windows so that people do feel safe, and then repaving the parking lot. It's also a big thing where people feel like the place is really freshened up, and it's like $15,000 for, it's not that much money. $15,000 for a fence, $15,000 for a new driveway. People feel like it's a brand new place. So last thing, incorporate professional management. When we bought the property, the owners were self-managing. It's pretty difficult on the tenants because they have to call Joe to come fix everything, and they don't want to call Joe at 2 a.m. because they know Joe or pay rent to Joe, so it's hard to call him. But if it's a property management company, they don't care anymore. They're just going to ring the phone, but then people will come and fix it. They'll actually have the right person come and fix it, not somebody try to fix a hot water tank or try to fix the HVAC and they have no idea what the hell they're doing. So incorporating professional management is a big plus. Yeah.
How much does that run you?
10 for the apartment buildings. It's like 7 to 8% of collected rents. For single family homes, it's 10%. So why this property? So most of our properties are in a different neighborhood, like an up and coming neighborhood. This is more of a C+ class neighborhood in Memphis, so it's a little bit different for us, but the numbers work so well that we decided to move forward with it. So a couple of things about it. So blocks away from major retail. So this is all this major retail that I was talking about. Here's major retail. This is pretty much like in between these two freeways is like pretty much the Beverly Hills of Memphis. It's houses are anywhere from like 300,000 all the way up to 800,000, which is like 5,000 square feet. Yeah. With pools and stuff. This is a brand new Starbucks, University of Memphis, and then all new retail for this this is the C class or B class retail. This is the A+ retail for all catering to this group of people. And then the University of Memphis is right here as well, so huge university. And then Binghamton is an up and coming neighborhood in Memphis, so there's a lot of new developments going on there. Hundreds of units are under construction right now, just 1 mile down the street. And this area, this pocket of Berkeley is pretty good, but once you move up more into here, it gets a little bit rougher. So the lower you are down to here, the better, because you're closer to this really good demo. So why this property? A couple of things. So attractive cost basis, we're able to get into it for 40 grand per unit, which is lower than the rest of the market. The last building that we bought, we got into it for 50 grand a unit, and now I'm under contract for another building, which I'm going next week to see, and we're under contract for 60 grand a unit. So that's the reason why I kind of moved away from the B class property to a C class property, just because the numbers were so good. And so rents were way below market. We thought we could increase the rents by 45%. Solid rental comps. So the cool thing about this building too was there was 11 units, and then right next to us there was like 250 units, and they had just renovated the whole building, and they had increased their rents from $500 a month to $725. And I was like, holy shit, okay, they can do it, then I can do it with my tiny little 11 unit, right? So I was like, all right, the building next door, this is what they did. I went one of the units or just looked at photos, and okay, this is the kind of renovation I need to do to get the $725 a month rent, easy. And our building was also fully occupied, so there was cash flow coming in. You can use that cash flow to renovate the units. As they do turn over, you can use it for other operating expenses, so you don't need to pull out of pocket. So every single month, the tenants have still, even though we didn't do any renovations yet, the tenants were still paying for our mortgage and insurance and taxes and all that. So this was a renovation that we did do. This is of course after, that's before. So there was this like paneling that we just made, like I think it's like sheetrock or something. We built all new cedar balconies. This whole thing was like falling apart. We replaced that. New signage, and then painted the entire building. So it kind of really livened up the property. And then also, you can see there's a window unit here, window HVAC or window AC unit. And so that's because it was managed by some guy who was just trying to makeshift fix things. Yeah. So what we did is we went in and said, hey, we're going to replace your windows and install all new French doors and new balconies. Can we come in and fix your HVAC too? So now the tenants love us and stuff like that. Just from one, because this looks like an eyesore, but once you go and fix it, Now it looks much cleaner and everybody has their HVAC working. Different angles, same shot.
So there was actually an HVAC system in place.
Yeah, there was,
but it
but
wasn't
but then they would call Bill and Bill would just never come and fix it. So it's really interesting when you go and walk one of these units, you talk to the tenants and, hey, why do you have a window unit with your HVAC? We see your HVAC and all the condenser units are on the roof. Why the hell are you using a window? He's like, yeah, we called him many times. He just never came and fixed it over the years. So we're gonna spend $100 to stay cool because it's 100 degrees humid. So this is before and after of the kitchen. So all new tile flooring, stainless steel appliances. All of this was rebuilt. We tore everything out. And this cost us probably 12 grand, 13 grand, including the appliances, to renovate the whole entire unit. So everything was literally torn out and built brand new. And then we installed a brand new washer dryer, but a nice one, instead of the one they had, which was horrible. They actually had, I think it was the washer was here and the dryer was here. You couldn't see the vent. But we did a stackable unit, so it's much easier. And they can use that space now as a little kitchenette area. And so that's all tile. So people ask me about vinyl plank. We use tile because tile, if one tile breaks, you can come replace it. Vinyl plank is cheap, great, but if water gets under there, then the tile starts bubbling and popping, and it could really just spread everywhere throughout your whole entire unit if there's a leak, especially with the washer dryer. So what we do with unit turnover now, if the unit turns over, somebody just comes with a mop. We may repaint it, but we just mop the floors, clean them up, repaint it, and then turn it over, and it's ready to go. So it's a little bit more expensive, but it's worth the money in the long run.
What about countertops? Is it for my
That's granite.
It's granite.
So what we do for this is the first unit we renovated. So for the first units, we also go like balls to the wall, as high of a renovation as we possibly can to test the market, to see what's the max res that we can get. And then if we don't get a number that makes sense for that, then we'll slowly move to the Formica, move to the vinyl plank, depending on. And this is like a C class area, so it was a risk on our part, but it was only a couple $1,000. So what the hell? I need to restart now.
So you can show
Here, it looks better.
You can restart it.
Damn it, Don, don't ever touch your computer.
Yeah, wow, it looks way better. Yeah, that's granite. Yeah. The granite's also not much more expensive for us. I don't know why than the Formica.
You got a wood frame tile.
Yeah, wood grain tile. Yeah, and it goes through everything. So that's the bathroom, and then there's 2 bedrooms. There's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath unit. French doors. There used to be these old busted doors, and then what we did too is there's shutters that go inside this glass window here. So see how these are all jambled and stuff? It's because tenants, they just rip them down. So we put them in between the windows so that they can't mess with them anymore.
Cool.
Yeah. And then tile throughout the whole entire unit.
You're talking LVP? No.
Yeah.
Luxury vinyl. What'd you do with the tenants while you were renovating?
We bought
You
this.
said it was full.
Yeah, it was full, and then the tenant left 30 days later, a week later.
So then you go in that one,
Uh-huh.
fill
And then,
that one.
yeah, and then we do this. We go as high as we possibly can, spending the extra couple grand on the tile, on the appliances, the stainless steel appliances, and all that kind of stuff to test what we can get.
Mhm.
And then we'll just list as high as we can and rent that. We'll get somebody in the door. Nobody comes in the door. We slowly lower it down and down. So a step down system, I guess,
Okay.
to find the magic number, and then we'll look at, okay, was it worth spending the extra $5,000 that it cost us to get the extra rent? Yes or no? If it was, then we got a model for all the other units. And if not, then the next unit we'll do a little bit less and see what that rents up for. So it's really testing, figuring out one base unit. You spent this, we got this. Does that make sense, etc. So same thing with the bathroom. So tile throughout, and then tile up, and then all new. The tile looks like it was replaced. New toilet, new vanity, new. All right, so this is what actually happened. This is why we test high end. So the average rents when we bought it were $500 a unit. The total income was 66. Total expenses were $25,000. So the NOI was 40. What we thought we can get was 725. So $725 in rent, so from $40,000 to $70,000, so a $30,000 increase, pretty good. What actually happened is this unit rented out for $895. So, you know, we more than doubled the NOI on the building. So, therefore, using the cap rate formula, since to find the new property value. So, we bought it for $450, put in a couple $100,000 of renovation, but now, if we can rent out every single unit for $895, the NOI is $92,000. And so, if you take $92,000 and divide it by a 7% cap rate, which is what the cap rate's going in that area, the building today is worth $1.3 million. So it's a huge increase just by increasing the rents of the property. We're going to maintain those same expenses throughout the life of the property. There's nothing really much was going. If we're going in and spending the capital on increasing the HVAC and water tanks, then this operating expenses should go down. So we're really estimating it, but
That includes your property management?
yeah, that includes that too. Yeah. So now, just another IRR formula for the same thing. So what we expected was a $340,000 investment. No, not much cash flow in year one, but then year 2 to 5, cash flowing nicely, to give us an IRR of 17%. Year 5, we're going to sell the property in 5 years at a 7% cap rate. It's just a way that I like to analyze all my deals. And if you're going to do apartments, I recommend analyzing every deal the same way, or else you're going to be like, oh, this one's 24 and this one's 17. Well, you may have been looking at a 2-year horizon instead of a 10-year horizon, which would have really messed up your number. So every deal, I do this conservative number that I'm going to hold it for 5 years and sell it. This building, I'll probably just flip it and get my cash out of it, but that's how I underwrite every single deal.
So your 5-year projection, does that include speculation, what the real estate market's doing? So
No.
it's just, basically it's 5 years
Today.
down.
And then even if I still want this cash flow, so this is a 17% IRR, but I want the cash flow to be like at least 10%, because I know that's not going to go away. So this IRR is also based on selling that property, and then there's a big bump on that year, which is getting this from 10 to 17. But I want the cash flow on an annual basis to be like 10 to 12% every single month, so that if there is a recession or if this cap rate changes from 7 to 9, then I can just keep the property and keep making the cash flow every single month. So what actually happened, since we were able to get the higher rents, was pretty much doubled our return. So $340,000 investment, year 1, still no cash flow, just because you're renovating all the units, turning over. And then year 2, you have a much higher cash flow, so $54,000 all the way to year 5. Year 5, you're selling it in 5 years at a 7% cap rate. So this is what actually happened with the property, around a 30% IRR, and what's going to happen. And so the big thing that makes this crazy is the refinance process, because now the property that I bought for $450, 12 months later, once I'm fully done with the renovation, it's going to be worth $1.3 million. So let's say in 12 months, so year 1, no cash flow, let's say year 2, the end of year 2, whatever, so 24 months. I'm going to go to the bank and say, hey, I have a building, it's worth 1.3, the units are all rented over $895 a month, I want to do a refinance. And so I can do this with Freddie Mac. Freddie Mac has a small balance multifamily program that I can use. And so what I'm going to do is go to the bank in 24 months or 12 months, whatever the number is, and go to the bank and say, hey, the building's worth $1.3 million, I want to get a loan on that property. They'll lend me 75% loan to value. I'll use that $975 to pay off the current loan, pay myself back, and then I'm still left with $300,000 of money back after all of those things have been paid off, including myself. So invested $340,000, year 1's a wash, but then year 2 I get my money back, and I get $304,000, so I get $700,000 in year 2, which I can use now to go and leverage and buy more apartment buildings. Then year 2, the cash flow is lower than the last one because now I have more debt on the property. I have a larger loan; it's $1 million loan instead of a $340,000 loan. But that's fine with me because now I got all my money back. I got a check for $300,000, and now I'm making $20,000 a year for doing nothing on the property, and I can sell it in year 5 and sell it in year 5 for a 7% cap rate. So the IRR is around 64%, making the profit crazy. Nancy.